A few years ago, I was facilitating a YPO retreat. So this was a day-long deep dive with 8 business owners. 2 of those business owners ran businesses of over $2 billion a year. And do you know what? All 8 of these business owners experienced imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Even though they've achieved massive, massive success, they still experienced imposter syndrome and self-doubt. So if you are experiencing these, we're going to talk about psychologically where this comes from, and I have 25 techniques for you to overcome it for yourself and for people around you. Let's get to work.
Welcome to Leadership Mindset 2.0. Practical neuroscience and psychology to transform you from a tactical doer into a strategic leader. Here is your host, former social entrepreneur of the year and coach to some of the world's top executives, R. Michael Anderson.
Hello, leaders. Here it is. Here's the mega episode on overcoming imposter syndrome. This is one of the things I get asked most about, so I've devoted this entire episode to everything you wanted to know about imposter syndrome and probably a lot more. We're going to talk about the background and the history, the studies, why it exists, the different types of it. And then I have 24 really specific things for you to do to overcome any imposter syndrome or self-doubt that you have. So again, I threw it all into this episode. Let's just jump right in because I got a lot to get through and I want to make sure this is a digestible episode. Imposter syndrome comes from, in 1978, there was a publication called The Imposter Phenomenon in High Achieving Women, Dynamics and Therapeutic Interventions by psychologists Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes, I-M-E-S. What's interesting is they brought up that it is a phenomenon instead of a syndrome. And that is technically more correct. But you know what? I'm going to call it imposter syndrome anyway, because otherwise my brain will get confused. But they really called it out in the beginning, and it really has, it's so common that it obviously is in everybody's vocabulary. And it comes up in a lot of leadership conversations because it exists very, very often. There was a meta-analysis done by Bravata published in the Journal of General Internal Medicine, and they aggregated 62 peer-reviewed studies encompassing over 14,000 participants. We got to be careful with these studies, and I am bringing up because there's some interesting things in here, but also some of the studies contradict some of the other studies. For example, what this meta-analysis found out is that prevalence rates across the different studies ranged from 9% to 82%. That's right, 9% to 82% of people in the studies were found to have imposter syndrome. So there is no consistency. The studies will bring out some things, but I don't want to spend tons of time on what the studies say. What I will do is I'll bring out some studies that back up what I've seen with my clients and the people that I talk to. Because one thing that is clear is there's often a link between imposter syndrome and really difficult conditions, whether the difficult conditions are with the individual person. So if the individual person is going through a tough time, if they have low confidence, if they are suffering from burnout, or if if it's a difficult workforce, if it's a difficult culture, maybe the economy is going through a recession, whatever it is, which makes sense because we'll talk more about it. Imposter syndrome is the ego, and the more things the ego has to deal with, for example, if you're tired, if you're under a lot of extra pressure, stress, you don't get the support you need, of course, you're going to have more what we'll call negative effects like imposter syndrome, et cetera, come up. There's a myth in corporate development that confidence goes away the more seniority you have. But almost every study shows that that's not true. There's a 2024 study by Korn Ferry, which is a global consulting firm of over 10,000 employees, including a distinct cohort of CEO. The results reveal a crisis of confidence starts at the top. 71% of U.S. CEOs report experiencing symptoms of imposter syndrome in their roles. So 71% of U.S. CEOs report that. And then it says senior executives, 65%, were significantly more likely to exhibit signs of imposter syndrome than early stage professionals, 33%. So that's pretty significant. And that's probably because as you climb up the ladder, you often lose your peer support network. So maybe you went out for drinks with certain people after work. Maybe you don't have them anymore. Maybe you don't have that friend. Maybe you got promoted higher than that person. Maybe you're not in the same department as the people who you really went to for those type of conversations. So you lose the peer support network. There's more politics. The higher you get, the stakes are greater. There's more ambiguous problems where there's no clear right answer. And like I talk about with the leadership and competence trap, you're normally promoted into levels of leadership and management where you don't get the right training and support. So to me, that would make a lot of sense. Now, then I'm going to read this other study. It says age appears to be a significant inverse predictor of imposter syndrome. Millennials report highest rates compared to less rates when you're older, which is the exact opposite what we just talked about. So I don't understand that. What I did just bring up was from a relatively recent study, and they say that might be because of social media and because everybody is getting it. Millennials watch more social media, people between 25 and 39, and that might be that they're comparing themselves to other people. Last thing I want to bring up about the studies, because, I'm all about being practical. So I like the studies a little bit, but I don't want to get stuck into giving you an academic speech here. Employees with frequent imposter thoughts were often rated as more interpersonally effective than their more confident peers. And they believe this is because they compensate. So if you maybe are feeling a bit like a fraud, then you're actually nicer and kinder to other people and you connect more with them. In fact, medical residents with higher imposter thoughts demonstrated better bedside manner, maintained more eye contact, and received higher patient satisfaction ratings. And their actual competence was not impaired. Imposter doctors made more accurate diagnoses as the same rate as confident doctors. So even if you do have some imposter syndrome, that might be helping you up your game. People may be thinking of you in a better light, and you're just as effective or more effective. All right, that was a bunch of studies and everything else. Now let's move on to why does imposter syndrome exist? Why does it affect you? And there's only one answer for this, just like pretty much every other answer that I give. It's your ego. Now, again, I'm going to do a massive mega ego versus imposter syndrome, ego versus authentic self episode one of these days. But until I do that, just remember your ego is there. Your ego is part of you. Your ego is part of your psyche, and its job is to protect you. And the ego does not like change. It does not like risk. It does not like when you are in a position to potentially fail. And you know what is a great big smacking place that could cause you to fail, cause people to see your failure, cause you to be in a position that you don't know exactly how to do it or what to do is promotions or at your company's scaling or your team's scaling, whatever. To me, imposter syndrome mostly comes, especially in the workplace, comes when you get a promotion or when you are assigned something that you've never done before. And for the entrepreneurs out there, or the team lead, it could be a team leader, when your company is growing, your company is expanding, et cetera, and you have to take on all these new duties that you've never done before. Because your ego wants you to be in a safe place. It does not want risk. So all imposter syndrome is your ego trying to talk you out of the current situation you're in because it doesn't feel safe. And it all boils down to that, dear leader. So that's why imposter syndrome exists. Now, we're going to talk about the different types of imposter syndrome. But before this, I want to remind you that because you're learning psychology here, everything that you're learning is relevant to yourself and relevant to other people. The reason this is important is because as you promote people in your team, as you hire people in, as your team and company scales, there's going to be people on your team that experience imposter syndrome. So you want to keep your eye out for that because your job in a way is to keep their self-esteem high and their confidence high, especially when they're doing a good job. You want them to keep rolling with it. You don't want them to get stuck in imposter syndrome, which is going to lead to burnout. If we talk about when people get afflicted with imposter syndrome, it really can lead to more burnout. It can lead to different types of mental and emotional issues over the longer term. And we want everybody to really perform from a place of confidence and self-esteem. And you as a leader, when you can help people do that, step into their authentic self, help them manage change, help them keep taking on bigger challenges with ease and grace. That doesn't mean it's easy, but they can be easy on themselves, compassionate to themselves. Then you're creating real resilience. You're creating a really high performance team. So remember, as we go through all these things, that it's relevant to yourself as well as others. As we go into the different types, I just want to bring out a couple different small things. What the studies have shown is that women and minorities, and when I say minorities, anytime you look or come from somewhere different than everybody else, your ego is on alert. Look, I'm a white male from America, and growing up in I don't want this to be a political thing, but the fact is that the modern workplace, especially in Europe and in America, were made for white males, and it is made up of predominantly white males. When I went to Singapore, I lived in Singapore for a year and a half and worked for a software company, for a Hong Kong-based software company, and there were times where I'd be the only white person, the only Westerner in a room with all Asian people. And I can tell you that I was keenly aware that I was the only non-Asian person. There was a lot of people with Chinese heritage, for example, whether they're Hong Kong or Singaporean, and I would be keenly aware that I was the only Westerner in the room. And it was like always in the back of my mind, like, am I acting the right way? Am I behaving the right way? Are they judging me, etc.? And the interesting thing is, when you look at people that are different than everybody else, whether it's on a board of directors, as a leadership team, or just any team, they've really found that when there's really specific differences about them, whether it's their gender, their color, their ethnicity, I can't pronounce anything today, you know what I mean, or even their native language, there's an awareness, which makes perfect sense, because the way we have been wired is for our ego to keep us safe. And for the last 20,000 plus years, if we would be around people that didn't look or act like us, that would be like a different tribe, and tribes stuck together. So that's a natural reaction from our ego. So we have to be careful that anytime people have a difference about them, they probably have a bit of more aptitude for imposter syndrome or maybe self-doubt, etc. And I don't mean to make this political. This is psychology and neuroscience. So if that happens to you, that can be normal. And if there's other people, if you have, if you're a Western company, you have one person come over from India, they're probably going to be going through that too. So you may want to give them a little extra comfort, security, etc. Now let's look at these types. And again, these may apply to you, or these may apply to people in your team. The first is the doer to leader identity crises. And I'll tell you how I got these types. I did an AI thing on this. And when I do these episodes, I'll ask AI, and AI will give me a bunch of stuff, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not using most of that, which happened to be on this one as well. But what I did is I dumped in a bunch of my stuff, and I said, hey, based on my clients and what people have, how do you differentiate the different types of imposter syndrome that my clients go through? And this is what I came up with. This is really interesting. So the first one is the doer to leader identity crises. And this is what I talk a lot about this. If you've been listening to this podcast, you'll know, basically you have a doer identity, which you really like that doer identity. And all of a sudden now, what made you successful as a doer is not as relevant to your leadership position. I talk about this with the leadership and competence trap. I talk about this with identities, etc. So what happens when you lose this doer identity, and all of a sudden you're this leader, and you need this whole different skill set, you need to realize you need to reskill yourself, and you're going to go through a time where you maybe are not the expert and you don't have all the answers. And you really need to fully embrace the role of a leader, and you're going to have to deal with a lot more ambiguity, a lot more connection, communication, people leadership, people management, etc. And that's going to take you a little while to do, and you're not going to be an expert at it all right away. And so your identity is going to change, and you need to work on that identity. Just the same, if you promote somebody in your team, they may need to go through this too. So if you can give them some support, be there, coach them, listen to them, etc., they're going to make this change better and easier as well. Number 2, second type, the achievement versus self-worth gap. I talk about how oftentimes what happens is our ego and self-worth, our self-worth is what the ego says we're allowed to have as achievements. And what will happen is you have achievement line and your self-worth line, and they'll always try to even out. So if you've been in a job for a year or 2 years, your achievement line is going to equal your self-worth line. But then if you get, for example, promoted, then your achievement line is greater than your self-worth line, and there's a gap, and that comes as insecurity and imposter syndrome. So what happens is you do the job for a little while, and your self-worth, your ego says, you know what, we can do this. Okay, I will give you more self-worth. And so your self-worth can equal your achievement, and then you're good. But then what happens is every time you get a promotion or your company scales, you have that gap. What our job is to really build your self-worth so your self-worth is much greater than your achievements. And then what happens is you have this amazing confidence in yourself and your abilities, and then your achievements run to catch up with your self-worth. So we really work on your self-worth. And so you don't tie your self-worth to your title, your achievements, etc. You know your self-worth is based on your ability as a person and as a leader. Type 3, doomsday scenario and catastrophizing. There is this crazy self-doubt where your brain and your ego will be like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And the chances of things like this happening are 0 to nil. I talk about how when things were going well in my company, and here I am running 2 companies, things are going well, we're making money, we're growing, etc. The phone would ring, I would get, for this split second, I would get this paralyzing fear that would say, oh my gosh, it's the largest client, they're going to cancel their contract with us, everybody else is going to cancel their contract, and next thing you know, I'm going to be poor and literally homeless. And that would happen in a split second. And then I just shake my head. I'm like, that's crazy, Michael. That don't ever happen. That could never happen. And then I pick up the phone. Sometimes, and look, I went through all of these, the doomsday scenarios of catastrophizing. Every so often I'll catch myself doing that. But this really can give us a lot of chronic background stress and a persistent feeling that everything is out of control and on the verge of crashing down. The 4th type of imposter syndrome is perfectionism procrastination loop. Okay, so I talk about self-limiting beliefs that perfection equals love or success. We feel that we need to do everything perfectly or we're not going to be worthy of success. And oftentimes we procrastinate because we're not sure we can do things perfectly. Where a lot of procrastination comes from is the fact that the ego doesn't want to start anything unless it knows it can be perfect. And so we get stuck into this whole thing. And then we also catch ourselves overworking, being overly critical of others, overly critical of ourselves because we're trying to make everything perfect. I hate to tell you, you can't do that when you're a leader. You'll drive yourself nuts. Type number 5, the senior leader's mask. And I'm going to give you 24 things to overcome all these. So don't worry about this. I just want to see where you find yourself in each of these, and or other people in your team or even in your company that you deal with. Type number 5, the senior leader's mask. Oftentimes, when we get to be a senior leader, we're so afraid to show any vulnerability, any authenticity, or any humanistic traits, because we feel that showing any weakness or admitting any discontent will lead to a loss of respect or position. And so we really become hard to connect with. People don't necessarily trust us because we're in our own little world, because we're afraid to let anybody see who we truly are. Type number 6, the comparison trap. So what this is really simple is we compare ourselves to other people, and we really focus on where we come up short. And often we'll be comparing ourselves to people that is oh my gosh, Steve Jobs did this by this age, or Elon Musk did this by this age. You're talking about like one of the top 1 or 2 or 3 people on the planet in what you're trying to compare them to. Or you're going to compare yourself to other people that you run across in your business, etc. And you're always losing those comparisons, aren't you? That's a really, really tough way to go through life. And what's interesting is when you compare yourself to other people, you don't know what's going on in their head. You're making up stories and you're comparing yourself to these pristine stories you're making up about people. Type number 7, intellectual and technology inadequacy, the AI factor. So here's the doubt that AI is going to take over everything that you do and you're not going to have anything to do. And you're not smart enough to learn AI, and AI is just going to pass you by. You are worried about you're going to lose your job, or your whole team's going to lose their job, and just you're going to get left by the wayside. You can worry about, this is similar, this is akin to the catastrophizing one. What you really need to do is up your game, up your level, up your leadership, because the one thing AI is not going to replace anytime soon or in the future, in the perceived future, is leadership. So get better at leadership, people leadership. Number 8, the last one, the lone wolf, the do it all myself. This is especially common among entrepreneurs, and they want to do everything themselves. They want to control and manage everything themselves. And they only really count success if they do it alone. And this is, again, a tough way to go through life, and you're going to drive yourself nuts as a leader. This really resonates with me, and it's something I have to constantly work on, letting people in, delegating, etc. Okay, we're going to talk about what companies and leaders can do about it, and then we're going to talk, and I'm going to give you the 24 ways to overcome this. How are we doing? How far are we? Oh my gosh. We got a lot in this one. Now, workplaces that foster higher competition and upward social comparisons that are really, really competitive and always comparing people to their top performers can trigger imposter feelings. So look, I believe in a high performance environment, though you have to be careful how you do that, because you can create a culture of comparison and people can go in a negative downward spiral. So it's a really interesting balance that you have to put out there. Okay, here's what you can do about it. First, I'm going to share, I think I mentioned last time, I got to get better at acronyms. So I come up with an acronym for this, everybody. And so here's my acronym, and then we're going to go about 24 other specific ways to do this. So I got to take a drink here because we got a lot to do. We're still got a lot to go. Here's one big tool, and then I got 24 other tools. What I call it is the A.A.R.A. So when you are experiencing self-doubt or imposter syndrome, here's the thing. Acknowledge it. First thing is you want to be like, look, I'm experiencing self-doubt. I'm experiencing imposter syndrome. And the second thing is appreciate it. Because do you know who is trying to protect you? It's your ego. And you're going to learn more about this in my ego episode, but your ego loves you so much and it's part of you. It is just confused. And the funny thing is, the more we get angry at our ego and the more we resist our ego, the tighter hold it puts on us. So what you want to do is you want to say, hey, ego, I know you're there. And you know what? You're trying to help me in your own whacked out weird way. You're trying to help me. And I appreciate it. Thank you. So you're actually thanking your ego and thanking your imposter syndrome. Weird, I know, right? And then what you want to do is say, look, I understand you're trying to protect me, but I got this. I don't need you right now. You help me out so many places, and your ego does help you out in so many places. You help me out in so many places. We're going to reassign you to doing something else. So we're going to reassign you to giving me confidence, because that's really what I need now. We're going to reassign you to something else. So give it another job to do. And so acknowledge, appreciate, and reassign, A.A.R.A. Really simple, really quick to do. Because again, remember, I'm all about the relationship with yourself, and your relationship with yourself always has to do with compassion. And so that's what the reassign is. Boom. Now we're going to go. I'm going to give you 24 really rapid fire things. So you may want to do some pausing here. You might want to write things down. And what I also decided that I'm going to do is, if you're in the Growth Leaders Collective, I'm going to make a study guide for this episode. So you can either listen to this, there may be a transcript on your podcast thing, I don't know, Or if you join the Growth Leaders Collective, you will have a little booklet that's going to give you all these and is going to make it a lot easier for you. Okay, tool number 1, separate feelings from facts. Here's the thing. What your imposter syndrome is coming from are feelings, not facts. So ask yourself, what's a feeling and what's a fact? Oh, I don't know if I can do that. That's not a fact. That's a feeling. Oh, I don't have the ability to do this. That's a feeling. That's not a fact. The fact is you are in that position and you got it. Number 2, reframe. I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, you know what? That's right. You don't know. You're going to figure it out, just like you've done a million times in your life. So if you're saying, hey, I don't know how to do something, then think of all the things that you've learned how to do that you didn't know how to do, and this is just going to be one more of them. Number 3, the good enough mantra, to combat perfectionism. So instead of trying to do things perfectly, tell yourself this next thing you have, you're going to get it done good enough, like 80%. Or tell yourself, look, I'm going to do 3 hours on it and then make it ready. And I'll do the best I can. If you are perfectionism and you put a time frame on it, here's what I suggest. Say, hey, I'm going to spend 3 hours on it instead of, hey, oh my gosh, this is going to take me 8 hours. Say, you know what? I'm going to spend 3 hours on this, and then I'm going to wait an hour, and then I'm going to give it 15 more minutes just to clean it up, and then I'm going to give it a go. So that is a good way to get past your perfectionism. Number 4, reframe fear as an excitement. You know, you may be put on a new project, a new customer, and have some fear and anxiety. Yes, you should have some fear and anxiety. That means you know what's at stake. I had a basketball coach tell me one time, if you don't have a little bit of excitement, even a little bit of anxiety before a big game, you don't know what's at stake. It's weird not to. Fear is actually excitement, just hiding a little bit. And it's okay to have that. That actually can help you bring out your best. Number 5, visualize success. What does success look like? What are you saying in those successful situations? Say that out loud. Play around with it. Get up, walk around, feel it in your body. That's success. There's a lot we can do with motions, emotions, and everything, and it's great to do that when we're moving around a bit. Number 6, externalize the voice. Give it a funny name. Maybe I give my imposter syndrome a name of Joey. Oh, Joey, that's you talking at me again. That's you being nuts. Oh, that's you just being my ego. Just play around with it. Have some fun with it. And the reason I'm giving you all these different ones is a couple things. 1, we're all different. We all have different personality types. We're wired differently. And 2, it's imposter syndrome and self-doubt can come in so many different ways. That's why there's a bunch of them. Number 7, the failure resume. Create a document listing your failures, rejections, and mistakes, and then write next to each one of them what you learned. If you're going to do this, do it, write it down. It can be real powerful to help you with the reframe of turning everything into a learning experience. Number 8, we got a run of journals here. The win journal. Number 8 is the win journal, which is I also call the brag journal. Again, create a document, buy a notebook, and write down everything that you've done well in your life. Make it from when you were a kid to when you're an adult. And that's going to be a massive list. And then go back the next day and add to it. Go back the next day and add to it. And then every time you feel like you're an imposter, look at all the amazing things that you've done in your life and be like, wow, I am freaking amazing. Number 9, the effect journal. This came about when I owned 3 companies, running 2 of them. And I would get done at the end of the day and I was like, I didn't get anything done. And I just get so down on myself. This is a bit different than the win journal. The effect journal is something you do every day and you write down everything you positively affected that day. So go through, you might even open up your calendar or your task list or your emails and just write down every positive interaction that you helped hey, I helped with this customer, I helped with this employee. And then at the end, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I really kicked butt today. And that's an amazing way to see all the things that you're positively affecting. Number 10, stop over preparing. Challenge yourself to go into a meeting without all the normal preparation. Do what you need to do. Don't be stupid about it, but also be okay with not knowing everything. Number 11, similar to that, and I love doing this to perfectionists, make a mistake on purpose. I get these people who are perfectionists. I'm like, tomorrow you need to send an email with a misspelling in it. They're like, what? I cannot do that. I'm like, yes, you can. Face it, you're not perfect. Get used to it. And the quicker you can get used to it, the easier your life's going to be. So make a mistake on purpose. Number 12, teach it to learn it. If you have something new that you need to learn it so well that you teach it to somebody else, or write a post or a blog on it. Number 13, solicit feedback and trust it. Find somebody that is going to give you honest feedback that you respect. And this is even better. So if you are in a new position, you've been there for a couple of weeks and you've been doubting yourself, and if you can ask the person that that you report to, that you need to show up for, ask for feedback from them and tell them to rate you from 1 to 10. Because, people are going to be like, oh, you're doing fine. So ask them to rate you from 1 to 10. Ask them why they gave you that rating. That makes it more specific. And if you're like a 7, 8, 9, or 10, then you're good. And make sure that you trust what they say. Don't play that weird game where you do this and then you're like, oh, they gave me a 9, but I don't believe it. Number 14, positive friends in a peer group. This can really, really help. Just a place to decompress, friends that are going to lift you up and that you can just explore things with. 15 is find a mentor or a coach. Having somebody that can coach you, has great coaching skills and mentorship skills, can go such a long way. P.S. I'm a coach. And if you ever want to explore coaching with me, drop a line, let me know. 16, be the best imposter. This is a funny one that I've never done this, but I thought it was worth mentioning. You can just say, you know what? I feel like an imposter, but I'm going to be like a spy. Nobody knows that I'm an imposter, but I'm just going to act confident and see what happens. And you just act like a little spy. I thought that was a cute one. It's almost like a game that you're playing. Number 17, it's an experiment. Try different mindsets each day as an experiment. If you do this, track them and see how they go. Hey, I tried doing this mindset. Hey, that worked 9 out of 10. This one worked 6 out of 10. Okay, I'm going to do more than 9 out of 10. Just create a little tracker that you write things down. Number 18, remember, knowledge is overrated. Your ability to work hard with boundaries, learn and grow are your real talents. Anybody can learn knowledge. Not everybody can be somebody that's trustworthy, somebody that takes ownership, and somebody that really cares. Number 19, tie your performance to metrics. What really matters? Are you achieving that? There's been times where I've been working with managers and leaders and they'll be like, oh my God, I feel like an imposter. I'm doing a horrible job. I'm like, did you reach your goals last quarter? And they're like, yeah, I crushed them. You're winning. This lady who I coach, she's a business owner, and she's like, we got this problems, we got this problems, we got this problems. I ask her, number one, are you profitable? She's like, yeah, we're more profitable than we ever been. I'm like, she did have a couple culture issues, a couple people problems she's working on. I'm like, are your customers happy? It's like, oh yeah, they're really happy. I'm like, well, then you're winning. Yes, there's things we need to work on, but you're winning. So if you're winning, deal with it. Your life is good. Yes, it's a good sign you're doing this. Yes, you are exposed. Maybe you are supposed to be experiencing some imposter syndrome because you're a high achiever and you keep pushing yourself. So this is number 20. It's a good sign. Imposter syndrome is a good sign because it means you're pushing yourself. I always say, who doesn't get imposter syndrome is that lazy person sitting on their couch. You get imposter syndrome because you keep pushing yourself. That doesn't mean you have to stay with it, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It shows you are pushing yourself. Fake it till you make it. The tried and true one. Some people love this, but some people hate it. But the issue is, this is a phase and you'll get used to it. So just do what you need to do. Keep grinding and you'll get there. You know what? It's worked for me in the past. It'll work for you. Number 22, I'm not the only one. I had a spiritual teacher tell me this once, and it really blew my mind. He said, everyone else is just as confused as you are. They are just better at hiding it. I was like, what? And if you're in a meeting and you are having some imposter syndrome, look around at the other people in the meeting and say, you know what? It's a good chance 8 out of 10 of them are really doubting themselves as well. And the funny thing is, it's often the most confident looking people or the arrogant ones that it's happening the most in. 23, trust others who are probably smarter than you. If somebody promoted you, somebody believes in you, and they're probably smarter at you. So believe that they knew what they were doing. They don't expect you to be perfect, though they believe in you and they put you in that position. So maybe trust their judgment. Maybe you earned it. And if you're scaling a company, then you know what? You scaled the company. Hey, nobody else did. And I'm sure there's a lot you're winging it, but you're succeeding already. Imagine how much more you're going to succeed as you learn all this other stuff. Number 24, if you're here, you might as well go with it. If you don't know by now, I'm really tall. I played basketball. I played basketball my whole life. I'm 55. Last year, I joined the over 55 Great Britain national team. So I competed in the World Championships last year in basketball for the 55 plus. It was my first year on the team. You can imagine I'm assertive. I don't mind saying my mind. And when I got there, even though I was new to the group, a lot of the other people knew them. I say what is on my mind to people, even if sometimes it's not what they want to hear. I think that's how we all get better. And I showed up with that attitude. And doing that, even though it was my first year, the coach made me vice captain. So I'm not the first captain. I'm like the second captain. And I really had imposter syndrome. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want this. I'm new to the team. And I get back and I told my wife, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really don't feel I really feel uncomfortable about this. And she's like, you know what? He made the decision. He made the announcement. You might as well just go with it. And I realized, yeah, he did. I'm here. I might as well, I'm going to say make the best of it. But that she told me what I needed then to really embrace it. And I did. So if you're there already, you might as well just go with it. That's number 24. All right, leaders, this has been a mega episode. As far as what you're going to do, I just gave you 24 plus the A.A.R.A thing. So you got a lot to do. So my challenge is to pick one thing and really play with it and really implement it and integrate it into your life. It could be, again, one of those 24, or it could be the next time you find that self-doubt, acknowledge it, appreciate your ego for trying to do its best, and then reassign your ego. As simple as that. All right, everybody, just remember, I get imposter syndrome all the time. I still get it. Just because we get it, and like I talked about, in a way, it's a good thing because we always push ourselves. That doesn't mean we have to live with it. And to facilitate this, if you've been listening to this podcast and these 25 techniques seemed really interesting, but they really blew by you, just remember there's a study guide waiting for you in the Growth Leaders Collective. The Growth Leaders Collective is my paid membership where you get to try it out for just $1 for the next 14 days, the next 2 weeks. So if you want to pick up this study guide and also get access to my Overcoming Imposter Syndrome course, just go to rmichaelanderson.com/GLC and sign up for your trial now. All right, everybody, that is the mega episode on Overcoming Imposter Syndrome. Now you have everything you need to know to become an even more powerful leader. So go out there, spread some positivity, and just remember, dear leader, no matter what, I believe in you. You got this.